Holy moly, aren't you folks lucky? It's time for another Equity Guru investor roundtable. Rob Simpson up here in the corner. It looks like Chris Perry is down there in the opposing corner pocket. TK Indicena is down below me, and over yonder is Vishal Tura, who's going to get us started here on Bioasis. Bioasis, they've got some news that's come out. They've been active. It's a fascinating concept. It's all about the blood-brain barrier, BBB. Vishal.
BBB. Yep, there we go, Rob. BBB. So Bioasis, guys, is a biotech company that deals with neurological diseases and disorders. They have a patent item there that focuses on transporting medicines across the blood-brain barrier, providing a path to hundreds of previously untreatable diseases of the central nervous system. I'll just go over to their PowerPoint here. You can see here that their proprietary XB, is it 3 or cubed? Cubed is technically the the 3 up there, platform technology, which delivers enzymes, siRNA, antibodies, and other biologics and small molecules through the blood-brain barrier. And as Rob hinted to, recent news shows that they are now expanding into the Japanese market with the Japanese patent application relating to their proprietary XB cubed fusion protein.
And on a straight up level for people at home wondering, it's essentially to help treat Alzheimer's, MS, Parkinson's, and then they've also jumped on rare diseases in children. So, and this is a very tangible, realistic thing for a lot of people when you look at it that way, right, Chris?
Yeah. So, a few things about this deal. I always enjoy when I read through an investor deck and I feel smarter at the end. If you can read through the entire investor presentation of this company from March of this year, right the way through the 28 or so pages of science and get to the end and think, I understand all of this, more power to you. There's very little in this that's aimed at investors. It looks more like a presentation you'd make to the FDA to get a new drug approved. I will say this, if there's any question to a lot of biotech companies as to whether they actually have something scientific that they're pushing forward, that there's no question in Bioasis. Like this is a master's degree in a presentation. That's a problem as well, because investors looking at this and saying, do I put my money into it, are going to be completely confused and horrified and go away. So that might be why Bioasis stock has not been running the way it would have liked to have been. In a nutshell, the brain is set up to stop things coming through the bloodstream and getting into the brain. That stops you from getting, bacteria in there and infections in there. It's a good thing, but it stops you from being able to treat neurological diseases in a really effective way. So these guys have the ability, or at least the claim is, to get through that, to get medications into the brain so as that you can fix neurological disorders, of which there are many people in the world that suffer. That, if it's true, is a bonkers big industry that these guys might have by a tiger by the tail on. It's going to take a lot of work to get through it, but clearly looking at their presentation, there's a lot of work being done and a lot of advancing of this technology. They're getting patents. So, there's obviously people with a lot pointier heads than me that are agreeing with what they're going with here. The always problem in Canada with biotech companies is there's not a large investor group that really goes for that part of the markets. It takes a lot of reading, a lot of understanding, a lot of sifting to figure out who's real and who isn't. We've certainly seen that in the psychedelics industry, where the guys that are real are starting to really take off and the pretenders are starting to get wiped. Bioasis, as it continues along its scientific journey, will roll out more news pieces that people will look at and be able to decipher. They're not at the deciphering point yet. You've got to be able to tell me what it is that you're developing, who it's going to go to, and how you're going to make money. And the company is very science focused and not nearly as investor focused as it needs to be.
Well, I can tell you what, Jody Vance is going to be talking to them, talking to their personnel in one of our other boxes here at Equity Guru. So it's worth checking out what Jody has to say with their guy, Mario Saltarelli. Analysis from TK?
Oh yeah, just taking off what Chris was saying about the people don't understand what the actual business is doing because the science can be pretty heavy. Once you actually break it down, the business model is pretty simple. Taking from their latest report, they're an early stage research company. That in itself tells you the gist of what you need to know. You focus on the actual sales, you focus on research and development costs, on the intellectual property, and then the capital structure. That's really where their main business model is. And as usual, I'm going to run down through some pretty interesting numbers, I think. So for example, the company made its first sales in 2016, just shy of 400,000. In the last 12 months, that number has gone to 4 million. I'll repeat that again. 400,000 in 2016. And now it's 4 million in 2021. That's about a 50% growth rate in 6 years. So 50% annually. They also have no cost of goods, since most of the expenses go into the research and development, and the people, all those bachelor's and master's degrees is probably what cost them most of their money. But off that, in the last 6 years, they've averaged $1.4 million on research and development, and it fluctuates according to the need of the company, etc. So that's where management has to have the foresight to know which projects to invest more in and which markets to attack more, because that's their main focus. Once they spend money on research in the year, you can think of it as a loan from the government. It's companies that are structured in this way don't have to pay taxes before they invest. So generally how they do it is you get your revenue and you spend on investments. And that investment will reduce your taxable income and this whole thing. And it's just a better thing for the company over time because it reflects cash into the account. But they have a free loan from the government to invest in their projects before they have to pay anything, which just improves their intellectual property. And most of the business is cash and intellectual property and the people. That's really the business model here. The science is pretty confusing at times, but if you look at the core business model, it's just focus on the people, focus on the property, intellectual property, and focus on the research and development. And the capital structure is pretty simple for these guys to understand. It's a bottom-heavy capital structure, so more equity than debt. And obviously over time that can adjust as they grow bigger and bigger. But the number to hit home there is 2016, $400,000 in sales. In the last 12 months, $4 million in sales. That's an amazing record of growth, if you ask me.
Just to build on that too, like their year ended for 2020, their profits was 606,000, and then a year after it's 4 million, right? TK didn't mention this, but they actually have a net income this year. Whereas last year they had a net loss of 4.3 million. This year they have a comprehensive income of 867,000 there. So the numbers look good there. I'm one of those guys where, I was looking at this and it's 51 pages of science. It's a lot of science for me there. But I mean, the application of their technology would be a game changer. And I think maybe I'm gonna start paying a bit more attention to these guys as well.
This seems like a patience thing, though.
Oh yeah.
By the way, TK, besides the bachelors and the masters, I'd hope there'd be some PhDs involved with the blood-brain.
That's true.
The blood-brain barrier. Chris, thoughts on from an investor standpoint when you kind of contemplate what this company has to go through?
Well, biotech, as you mentioned, is a patience with a CE at the end, not a TS model.
Yeah.
You wake up one morning and a biotech company can suddenly be a triple on one piece of news if they get through an approval, or it can be down by half because some big fish has decided they've got other opportunities. If you believe in where they're going, and you can look at that, as TK said, that bottom line income is growing. I don't think one day they suddenly wake up and find they're not selling that anymore. I think that growth continues as more and more approvals happen, as more and more patents happen, as more and more opportunities to use the technology present themselves. what you're really investing in here is a delivery platform, right? So that delivery platform can be used in 1,000 different ways. Each one of them has to go through its own process to show that it should be usable. So they've gone through enough to make some money. And at a $17 million market cap and $4 million of revenue a year, that plays, whether or not the profits are big or not. The question for me is, are they going to one day, run out of steam? No, they've shown that they can be self-propelling now. So that removes a whole stack of risk that I'd be concerned about otherwise, where a lot of these companies in the early stage have to raise money continually to keep the lights on. These guys don't. I'd like to see a little bit more support on the investor base, but again, is that an opportunity for us to get in cheap? I don't know, $17 million market cap. It seems to me that if they do get in trouble, they'd be able to sell that technology on and probably get an arbitrage situation. So if I'm into biotech, if I've got a few lazy thousand that I don't need for other things for the next few months, this is pretty much a good point where if I'm looking at that chart, Vishal, you tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like it's at the support level.
Yep.
And unlikely to plunge on anything but other bad news.
Exactly. Yep.
Buy and hold, Michelle. A buy and hold?
Yep, it's at a very big support level here. It does look like the stock is thinly traded, though, so I would just be careful of placing those larger orders.
All right, that's it.
Buy on the dips.
Buy on the dips, yeah.
Speaking of masters and PhDs, you guys want to all strike your intellectual pose? Give me a look so that I can impress the people when they want to go investing. Everybody, look at how smart these guys are. So you should listen to them because they give great ideas. And
it makes you intellectual,
I'm wearing glasses.
But despite all of that and their intellectualism, you are responsible for your own investment decisions. Past performance do not guarantee future results. So please do your own investing research and take what these guys have to say with it. I mean, holy smokes, did you see how smart they are? We're back with another Equity Guru Roundtable in a little bit, so stay tuned to this little pocket on your computer. And we have been talking about Bioasis. We'll see you next time.